It's actually 90 degrees outside right now, so anyways, I've decided it's fall. I'm sweating bullets in this shirt, but it's fall. Anyways, hi. Well, my name is Samantha. Welcome back to my channel. We are gonna do bookish things today, like we do every day. But more specifically, we're gonna do a book haul. It has actually been quite a long time since I've bought a physical book. I've been doing pretty good. I have bought some Kindle books. I'm not gonna lie about that one. And I've got some books gifted to me. So it actually had been like a really long time since I've bought a lot of physical books. If you watch my like bookshelf rearranging video, you can see that my TBR is still very large for my physical TBR. But I also am a great supporter of the idea that there's two separate hobbies when it comes to books, and one of them is reading and one of them is buying. So, and I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan of both, equal love to both of them. So, point being, I bought a lot of books and we're gonna go through them today. So, let's start with the ones that you probably came here for, since the title of this video is probably gonna be something like vampire books or fall books or Halloweenish spooky books that aren't horror or thrillers, because that's where I live. All right, let's wrap this up. Ooh. That's like a tab system. Let's see if it works. It's not going to. Let's see what we have. Ooh. Oh, yeah. I can't tell you guys how excited I have been for this, because it's been a long time. Oh, I thought I got the paper back. Oops. Okay. Let me organize real quick, so that way we can get to spooky books first. And then you can decide from there if you want to keep watching. Hopefully you do. I'm talking to myself. Okay. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything by taking those all out of the book. Out of the case. But let's get started. The first like 6 books, or I guess 5 books, there's a theme of like spooky books that aren't horror or thrillers, because those aren't my like favorite kinds of books. Oh, you know what? I'll just jump into it and I'll let you see what I mean. The first book is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This one is about a maid who, the elite class in this civilization are vampires, and she, in order to try to jump classes in the society, decides to be a blood maid for the vampires. This basically means that you live with the vampires and you provide them with blood. And obviously things get out of hand. Vampires! Spooky season! I'm literally a vampire queen. I have an entire bookshelf, just actual shelf, dedicated to vampire books. So it's been, honestly, I don't know why it's taken me this long to read some of these books. It's time. So I bought them. Speaking of which, A Dowy of Blood by St. Gibson. This one is about a wife of Dracula, and from my understanding is a little bit more about like a metaphor for abusive relationships. Obviously Dracula is not going to have the most healthy relationships with his wives. In fact, it might be more interesting to write a book about Dracula having a healthy relationship with his wives. But anyways, I have had my eye on this book since it was independently published. It's now obviously picked up by a traditional publisher, which, hey-o, St. Gibson, good for you. But this is a book that has been on my radar for a while that I need to read. Alright. Next is not a spooky book. I think this actually is more of a thrillery book. I picked up the wrong book, but it's a Stephen King book. So I feel like that's fitting. It's fitting. It fits the idea, the genre, the vibes that we're going with right now. This one is about a killer for hire. Look, I'm not a big fan of Stephen King. I thought I was buying a different book about time traveling, a man who can time travel and tries to find the love of his life. I'm pretty sure that one is the JFK book. Not this book, but it, like I said, it was a therapy like session of buying books, so got a little crazy. I did pick up a Stephen King book though. We'll see how it goes this time. I've only read one other one. I'm just not a fan of Stephen King. Someone lead me in the right direction, I guess, if I want to read Stephen King. Or is like, that's just how people are. Are you just like a Stephen King fan or not a fan? Because I fall into the category of not really a fan. But I also only ever read The Long Walk. So, help me out. The next book is another vampire book, Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. Once again, I don't know why it's taking me this long to read this book. One of my most successful videos on YouTube is the review of Empire of the Vampire, and I will stand by that review. I know that a lot of people don't. They find this book controversial. They find the book topic controversial. They find J. Kristoff controversial. I don't really care. It's a really good book, and I'll stand by it. I'm a vampire lover, and it was a really good book about vampires. If you want to discuss that more, you just comment down below. But anyways, this is the sequel. It's taking me way too long to get here, but it's literally just about vampires. Vampires rule the world, and there is a man who is almost like a vampire hunter. Lots of blood, gore, traditional vampire vibes, which I appreciate. The next book is a Book of the Month pick, The Book of the Witching by J.K. Cook. I'm just going to read the tagline for this book because I don't really know too much about it, which is fine. I'm okay with that. This is, a mother must fight for her daughter's life in this fierce and haunting tale of witchcraft and revenge. Witches. Another spooky but not horror or thriller book. I'm excited. I've seen some people reading this one and I have not seen anything bad about it, so that's going to be a thing. We're going to go more into this book haul. So now we're going to branching off from the spooky books and more about books that I just found that I was like, this is intriguing to read. I'm going to read it. Godesses in Every Woman by Jean Shindoa Bolin. It's a nonfiction book. It's about archetypes of fiction, women in fiction. The cover is Eve, if you can't tell, which gives me very good vibes. I'm going to like this book because it's probably one of my favorite books of Genesis is Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden. And I love references to it and I love retellings of it, and I'm hopeful that this is just as good as far as like a nonfiction book about female archetypes in literature, and I'm curious as to what it has to say about it. I'm excited about this one. Next one is a fantasy romance, not a romantasy but a fantasy romance. It's Half a Soul by Liv Atwater. I watched a couple of booktubers read this book and give it high ratings, so I'm excited. I'm thinking that this would be a really good mood read for when I'm burnt out on romantasy, but I still want fantasy and romance, right? I have a guaranteed fantasy book that is going to have romance in it, but it's not to be romantasy. More about that. This is about two people, one of which has a curse, and just like the little love romance that goes on. How many times can I say romance? I don't know. Next is A Day of Fall and Night by Samantha Shannon. Is it fall if I don't pick up a floppy paperback fantasy book? No, it's not. This is a fantasy, dragon fantasy with sapphic romances and magic. It is the sequel, or it's a prequel to, you can't see it, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, which was another really thick book. I enjoyed this one. So why not? I hear that this one isn't as great as Priory of an Orange Tree, but it's beautiful. It's a floppy fantasy book. It's fall, and it will look good on my bookshelf, and I'll read it because it's about dragons and sapphic romances, and why would you not read that? Actually, tell me what. No, just kidding. I don't want to hear it. Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. I just did a vlog about a book, Hera. I read Hera by Jennifer Saint. I like Jennifer Saint. I really like her writing. I like her perspectives. I like how she takes kind of like these nuanced females in Greek mythologies and like retells their story in a way that's very accessible and is really relatable to everyday modern women. And so I'm curious about Atalanta. I don't know much about this myth, which is why I want to read the Jennifer Saint retelling of Atalanta and her story, and then maybe I'll go back and actually read the actual myth. We'll see. Speaking of romances and stuff like that, we have The Gentleman's Gambit by Evie Dunmore from A League of Extraordinary Women. I have read every other book in the series, and this one snuck by me. I don't know when this was published, but I did not get notified that this was published. Evie Dunmore writes these Regency romances with these like fairly feminist female male main characters, and just like they're odd, like not odd, just their love interest, and it's a Regency romance, so you're gonna get like the ball gowns and the balls and like the quirky, like I don't want to say quirky, but the courting and all of those vibes, and it's just nice. So I got one of these to read in between all my other romances. I just know it's a Regent. Honestly, this is just like a historical romance that I know I'm going to enjoy. I have not branched deep enough into historical romances to really know what I like or what I don't like. So Evie Dunmore is just like an easy like default person to read if I want that. So if you have any recommendations for historical romances that are also Regency, comment them down below, because it's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and it's hard to get. I don't know where to start. This is where I've started. This is my comfort level. I need more recommendations, so comment them down below. Same thing with romance. Mariana Zapata, All Roads Lead Here. I picked up a used copy from Pingo Books. I really love this book. I read this like a couple years ago, and I still think about it. As far as this is my like top for slow burn romances is Mariana Zapata, specifically this book. This is like grumpy sunshine, single dad, woman trying to find herself and reestablish a relationship with her mother. Small town, there's hiking, there's like wilderness scenes, there's log cabins. This is tops for me as far as slow burn romances go, and I had to pick up the physical copy, so it's here. I'm excited. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get the other cover, but I think they stopped printing that cover in favor of the more rom-com-y cartoon cover, but that's okay. I just wanted a physical copy, and I got one. The next book is Dragon Fruit by Makai Lucier. I don't know how to say that name. This is a book of the month pick. I don't know much about this. I have not gone into the synopsis of this. I just know that it is like a fantasy YA. There's fruit bats on the back, so I guess that is considered spooky. I love this cover. I like the vibes that it's giving off. And when I got my book of the month subscription, I told myself I was getting it so I could branch off into different genres. And I haven't been doing that lately. I've really just been getting like the romances and fantasies, and this one was the pick that I was like, look, you need to realign your goal. I'm wanting to read different genres through book of the month, and I picked it up. So this is kind of a wild card. I don't know much about it. If you have read it already, this was their pick for April. Comment down below if you liked it or not. This one is, in the old tales, it is written that the egg of a sea dragon fruit, holds within it the power to undo a person's greatest sorrow. But as with all things that offer hope, when hope has gone, the tale comes with a warning. Every wish demands a price. So, I'm interested. Next one I've already read, The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. It was in a vlog that I recently did, so if you want to know more about this, go check out the vlog or check out my wrap-up, which should be coming out here soon. Woo! My stack is precarious. The other two books were gifts from my husband. My husband and one of my best friends. The Rage of Dragons by Yvonne Winters. It's a fantasy book with dragons. It's a adult high fantasy book with dragons, and it's a floppy. Oh, well, that's why I'm sneezing. Got dust on it. Don't judge me. Oh, so much dust. Ugh. Okay. That's all I really know about this book. I know it's more war-centered, tactics-centered. I sometimes get in the mood for one of those like really heavy adult fantasies, especially in the fall or winter time, and I'm excited to start this one. I haven't heard anything bad about it, so we're going in for it. I wish I could tell you more about it, but I don't know. A world caught in an eternal war, one young man will become his people's own hope for survivor. Game of Thrones meets Gladiator in Evan Winter's The Rage of Dragons. A novel that started as a self-publishing sensation has become one of the most acclaimed epic fantasy debuts of recent years. I don't think I can go wrong. I don't think I can go wrong. The stack gets more precarious. Because I ended with the heavy books. And then from my best friend, one of my friends, Realmbreaker, Victoria Aveyard. I think Victoria herself has proclaimed this book as her Lord of the Rings. Like if she were to write a epic fantasy book with a quest like vibe and characters and fantasy world in a very traditional fantasy world, like this was it. And I believe that there's a little bit of not controversy, but like this book is unique in the way that the bad guy has already won. Yeah. And like you have like the found family, like the group of strangers who come together to go on a quest to save the world. That's what I mean by like Lord of the Rings, right? So you have a squire, an immortal, an assassin, an old sorceress, and a pirate's daughter. The heroes are gone, but the fight to save the world has only just begun. Right? And I'm invested. I really like Victoria on social media, so I'm here to support an author, okay? Not that she needs support because she's already a crazy successful author, but I'm reading it. I'm excited. If I wanted something like traditional fantasy, that's not Lord of the Rings, but close, right? And the last, very, very much not least, Black Hearts by Jim Frederick. This is a nonfiction book about war. I'm going to say war. I actually did a whole video about books about war, if you want to go watch it. But this one is one that I have not yet picked up. This is a military history book about a unit in the 101st who during... which conflict was it? One of the Middle Eastern conflicts? I should know this, but I don't. Basically committed war crimes. Like the worst war crimes you could possibly think of, right? And it's kind of like what happened to them. Like why does that, how did that happen? And what happens after that happens? So we're just adding this to like my little war book collection. I found it at the library book sale for like $1. I was in the unit of 101st, not this unit. Pretty sure that they closed down this unit, but and you hear rumors, right? I think the Black Hearts unit, Black Heart Brigade, is like in the corner, if you really want to know, in like the corner of the post, and nobody talks about it. So I'm curious, I'm interested, I'm intrigued. It's just a little nonfiction book if I wanted something a little more nonfiction. Definitely heavy, so that'll be a thing. Also, I got it at the library sale because if you try to buy it brand new, it's fairly like expensive, like weird expensive, and I wasn't that interested in it, but I am now. Enough to buy for $1. Anyways, that's it. There's a lot of books in a short amount of time. But therapy. I bought the books. Now I had to read them to make myself feel good. Right? That's how this works. That's how this goes. Anyways, thanks for coming along with me. Comment if you've read any of these books, your opinion about those books, so that I know how I need to prioritize this with my already expansive TBR up here in the top of this bookshelf. And tell me if there's any that were like intriguing to you that you think you might want to read. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm excited about these vampire books for spooky season. I picked up the wrong Stephen King book. I actually have some nonfiction books in this and floppy fantasies. I'm very proud of myself for the variety in this book haul. But that's it for today. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.